Segment 2, Gold and Black Live. Calvin Williams joins us, and Calvin needs no introduction. He's a long time, 6 years in the NFL, correct? Seven. Don't count one short with the Philadelphia Eagles, Baltimore Ravens, and obviously was a very fine receiver for Purdue back in 1986 to 89. You had in your first and last year the opportunity to beat Indiana in very dramatic games,
Yes.
and that was good. We'll hit that a little bit as well. But Calvin's day job, which is quite the day job, Associate Athletic Director at Purdue, and he oversees a number of different sports with the Boilermaker program, had to hire a wrestling coach.
Yes.
And what about your background? And I mean, how did you prep for that? How did you, because you were the point person on that and finding Tony Ersland and being able to make that change. How did that go about? How did you go about doing that?
I think it was a collective effort. I've learned a lot under the previous wrestling coaches in wrestling, and just understanding the sport, and then when you get in a situation, when you have to make a change and you got to go out and hire a new guy, you just lean on instincts. And then, you just do your research.
Yeah.
You talk to people in the field, you make contacts over the years, and you rely on that, and you just, put your committee together, and you just go through the process.
Yeah, you have two of the sports that you oversee, volleyball being the other one of others, that are really so Big Ten dominant. I mean, the Big Ten dominates those two leagues. Wrestling, you can finish 8th or 9th in the Big Ten and be a top 25 program. Easily. In volleyball, Dave Shondell is amazing where he's able to keep his program where it is, but it's so competitive every week, and we'll hit that as well. But when you look at a Tony Ersland, what were the parameters, what were the things that you had to do to get to convince yourself that he's the right fit here at Purdue?
I think when he came in, we looked at resumes, definitely his background, being at Iowa, wrestling under Dan Gable.
Yeah.
The success they had, he has had at Nebraska, had a chance to work with Jordan Burroughs, Olympic champion, and then when he came on campus, he just, he solidified it, particularly with me. Everything about him, he wanted this job, and he conveyed that to the committee, and here we are.
Yeah, and you have a program too that, like I said, it's extremely competitive in this league, and being able to recruit the type of kids that can make a difference. Is it in wrestling a case here where you have to go out and get guys, and be able to, outside of the state? Indiana doesn't have bad wrestling, but to be able to compete with everybody, do you think the key is in recruiting to make that happen?
Just contacts, recruiting, your name, your success. Kids today, if you understand anything about recruiting, they want to know who are they going to be wrestling in the room with. And we have two dynamic assistant coaches in our wrestling room, Todd Tyrell and Zach Tonelli, both with Big Ten experience, and hopefully the guys on the roster will have some success. We think Braden can definitely get to the podium, and that's a guy, if he gets to the podium, All-Americans, and he sticks around with our program and our RTC, then recruits will start to look at that, and, that bodes well for us in being able to recruit. But Tony, great pedigree.
Yeah.
He's learned under Mark Manning of Nebraska for the last few years, and he's just going to be dynamic for our program.
Yeah, Braden Atwood, and he's at 142?
197.
197. I'm on the wrong end of this. Right? Not even close on that one. But Braden has had that experience, certainly with respect to being able to get to that level. Now, volleyball tonight, obviously, it's a huge challenge for Dave Shondell's team. The Boilermakers take on Penn State. Purdue ranked 14th, the Nittany Lions ranked 7th, but the Penn State has been dominant over not just Purdue, but just about everybody in college volleyball. 5 national championships, I believe it is, since 2007. This is a big step tonight, and a big match, obviously. But again, there's just no week. Purdue started 6-0, but there are no weekends off from this point forward, I don't think, for Dave's team.
The next 3 weekends are going to definitely define our team and who we are. But it all starts tonight. Penn State, they lost some heavy hitters, but they had the #1 recruiting class. So, they're playing well. They've lost a few, but they're going to come in here fired up and ready to go. And we got to meet the challenge. We're a little young, but we got some young talent on our team. The upside is just phenomenal.
What's your role with Dave Shondell, an experienced guy that was here before you got here? And Dave's you don't find him anymore. Anytime you talk about Dave, it brings a smile to your face because Dave calls it like he sees it, but he's a great energy guy. How have you assumed your role with him? What do you try to bring to the table to try to make his program better?
I just leave him alone. You don't mess with something that's already, going well. But Dave's been a tremendous mentor for me. He's taught me a lot about volleyball, and he's taught me a lot in dealing with kids. I think his young ladies respond well to him, and I've watched and observed him, and he's been a tremendous benefit for me in learning, my administrative role and, how to deal with volleyball.
And you've been a part also, from a facility standpoint, softball is a phenomenal looking facility going up right now. Maybe as we speak, it's still going on. I think it's still, we're going to work through, and they'll be ready for the spring.
We're in good shape. We're ahead of schedule. The brickwork is pretty much complete.
Yeah.
We should lay the sod this week if the weather holds, and so we're looking good. We should open up, for Big Ten season. Now the weather has to permit or will cooperate, and so we look forward to it.
Yeah, and that's got to be an interesting part of your job, is to be able to go from working with coaches, but then also work on a facility project. I mean, that's a task diversity at its best in terms of having that opportunity to work with the folks. What role do you play in that part of it in terms of the facility itself?
Very little. Steve Simmerman is oversees our facilities and operations in that matter. I sit on committees and give my advice, but he's very instrumental, has been very instrumental in the process. And when we start, talking about the bids and, getting us to where we've gotten and overseeing the management of the construction crew and general manager. So he deals with that. I'm pretty much logistics in terms of operations on the team front.
Lonnie Green is also a relatively new head coach, but again, a guy with a lot of experience coming to Purdue from Arkansas and other places in another program that's on the rise. I mean, Purdue's track programs have taken some steps forward here in the last little bit. What has he brought to the table in terms of a coaching style to change maybe the path of the program and put it on a path maybe to a little bit more success?
I think there's two things, when you look at Lonnie and what he brings. His experience, definitely at Arkansas has had tremendous success.
Yeah.
But his ability to motivate kids.
Yeah.
And when he came here, the culture was not what it is now.
Yeah.
And he understood that. He's taken a challenge, and the kids have responded. His last 2 recruiting classes have been phenomenal. And I think it's only going to get better, and we're going to continue to get better, and we just got to, sustain it going forward.
Calvin Williams, as we said in the start of this segment, played Purdue football 1986 to 89, but you redshirted.
85.
Right, and were recruited by Leon Burnett. Who, when you were recruited, who was the assistant that paid the first visit? Who was your first contact from Purdue?
Oh man,
I'm putting you on the spot.
Willard Wells.
Willard Wells, right? He was the recruiting coordinator at the time.
Was the recruiting coordinator, very charismatic
yes,
guy,
he was.
And was a really good dude.
Yeah, and I think I've asked you this here before, but why Purdue? Why did you get to what? Turn the table to get you really interested in coming to West Lafayette?
It was a different atmosphere for me. I'm from big city, East Coast, and I just fell in love with it. Purdue had just come off the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
They were a passing team, and Jim Everett, Steve Griffin, Mark Jackson, Rodney Carter, Ray Wallace. You know, those guys really showed me love
Yeah.
when I came here.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just had a great visit. And, you know, I was at that point where I needed to get away from home, you know, and do some growing up. And Purdue was just a perfect fit for me.
Now you come in, and redshirting was not quite, not near the same as it was is now. How did that process come about? You sit the '85 season, Jim Everett's last season at Purdue. Was that something that you talked about when you came in? I can't remember. You didn't have an injury that I knew of.
No, that was tough for me. You know, Coach Bob Spoo at the time was
Yeah.
our offensive coordinator, and he came to me just prior to the preseason luncheon that we traditionally that we have, and he said, you know, we're gonna redshirt you. You know, and I took it really hard. You know, coming from all Metro, all State.
Yeah.
You know, and then coming to the realization that you're not gonna come in and just make a difference. So I was at that point where I called my high school coach, and then he explained to me, football is a little bit different, whereas basketball you can come in and most of the freshmen play, but football is a little different, So I took his advice, and after talking with him and my mom, I just settled into my role, had a chance to travel every game, so I got that experience, So while I wasn't playing, I did dress and travel with the team.
Yeah, and having that opportunity in '86 to come back and play, not as good a season from a team standpoint. But you did go through something that I think is very important to be able to relate to kids now and what Purdue has gone through, and that's a coaching change. I mean, you had Coach Leon Burnett after the '86 season be dismissed, and Fred Akers coming in. What message what did you learn from that? And then did you do some consulting and counseling with the guys in football when the transition happened a couple of years ago for Purdue?
I think the biggest thing I learned is how to persevere,
Yeah.
and push through. Not only did I had the head coach switching change, but every year I was here at Purdue, I had a different receiver coach.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great for me in my development and learning how to adapt. And as far as our current team, I did have a chance to address them, when we made the change, and told them what I had gone through, and what are some of the things that they need to do if they want to push and get better. Everybody's not going to be in agreement. Some guys are going to be happy, because it gives them new life. Sometimes you get in the doghouse with coaches, and so it works both ways. And I just tried to give them my experience, offer the opportunity to come and speak to me at any time. Some of them have taken me up on it, and I just offer my experiences.
Now, football guys are football guys, so to speak, and you obviously. Your day job may focus on other sports, but you obviously would keep close tabs on Purdue football. What do you like most about Darrell Hazel's staff and what they've brought to West Lafayette? Just maybe some of the intricacies of what they try to do. What do you see?
I think the one thing that stands out to me about Coach Hazel is character building. He's about not just athletics and academics, but it's a third piece, and that's the character building, and I like that about him. If I were going to hand my son over to a head coach, I want to know that he's concerned about developing all three and producing a great young man. And I think he's committed to that. I think it shows when you're around our young men and their maturity level, so that's probably the biggest thing that I get from him.
Yeah. All right. Now you seem bigger and bulky, but you're an under 6 foot guy coming to Purdue and getting a chance to play. Purdue has a couple guys in the receiving core, one being out this week with B.J. Knopf, but Danny Anthrop kind of has that kind of build. The receiving core is maturing, I think, but it's been a challenge for them. What do you see in this group and their improvement, and where do you think that they need to be in the short term for this passing offense to be good?
I think, going into the season, I thought when you look at our athletic ability, our team overall, I thought after seeing them work out, individual workouts and running, I thought the receivers probably were our strongest group. I think the thing they need to do to get better is just be consistent, being able to get off a bump, when guys press you in the face, come up to you, and creating lanes for the quarterback. It gets tight, You know, so I think they've evolved. I think BJ and Danny had big games, showed what they're capable of, and I like what the coaches are doing. You know, get the ball in guys' hands and let them make a play.
Yeah, and you have that opportunity early and often. Certainly, last week with the short passing game and the swing passes. Some of your better games, as I recall, I can remember, is it 1989, and Eric Hunter and Calvin Williams show up at the Big House. Do you tell your kids about how that fourth quarter at Michigan, when you guys, I think, scored 3 touchdowns, but were running all over the place? What do you tell your kids about your career?
Well, I don't tell my kids anything. I just, you know, occasionally I'll show them some film. You know, if you know, kids, I'm dad.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes, you know, they weren't born when I was playing, you know, so they don't, I guess, don't quite appreciate, you know, my athletic ability or my accomplishments, you know, but, you know, occasionally I show them film. And I think my son, he's the oldest, he kind of gets it,
Yeah.
you know, but he wants to make his own statement. And, you know, so.
And that's
it
probably
is what it
that's the
is.
way you want it,
Yeah.
though, right? That's absolutely the way you want it. So you leave Purdue after the '89 year and graduating, and go off the NFL, 5th round draft pick. Was that lower than you anticipated, or I mean, everyone wants to be higher drafted, but did that provide some motivation for you going to the Eagles, or how did that work as you remember?
I thought I would be drafted higher, especially after my combine results and the guys who were I guess the hot shots that year, you know, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. You know, everybody's got to make the team. You know, the lower round you go, probably more difficult it is for you to make it. You know, so my focus was just to, you know, go out there and, you know, as the kids say, do what I do.
And you did, because you made the all-rookie team in your first season. When did you in the process realize, well, I really belong? I mean, there's no question that I belong in this league. Was there any moment in that first year to take longer than that?
I think the first time we got out there and start running through drills, and you know, Randall will probably never admit it, but Randall's one of those guys that if he throws a ball, if you're about 15 yards from him, and he can throw a ball hard enough that you can't catch it. And I think the first route I ran was an 8-yard route. And he decided, I think in his mind, at least this is how I see it.
Yeah.
He threw a perfect spiral, and it had to be coming 80, 90 miles an hour, and I caught it, you know. And I think from that point on, they thought, you know, they knew we were real, meaning me and Fred Barnett. And
Yeah.
then, you know, as you go along in camps and you got all pros, Eric Allen at the time,
Yeah.
you know, getting up in your face and trying to intimidate you, but you're just holding your own. You're making them, you know, you're holding your own,
Yeah.
you know, and then you get the veterans to come up to you and they start respecting you. So I would say, you know, probably in the middle of you know, the rookie training camps, I kind of knew I could do this.
Yeah. Philadelphia, famous for its fans and passion for its fans. What did you learn by being in the city of brotherly love, so to speak, in terms of how fans they're definitely into the team. But they would tell you, even luckily before the days of Twitter and the internet, I suppose that maybe that's a good thing. But what did you learn from being in that type of environment?
Tough skin,
Yeah.
tough skin, and you know, but I would not have wanted to play anywhere else because I can go to Philadelphia right now, 4th and South, get me a Philly cheesesteak, and they love you. You know, they'll dog you out, you know, if you're not playing up to par. And then, you know, sometimes, you know, you got to take it, you know, but no more supportive fans in the world, I think.
Is there, and not, I mean, I've followed Philadelphia teams over the years to some extent, but is it more they get on you because of effort, or are they totally results? I mean, when do you get in their doghouse, so to speak? I mean, what is that?
I think it's a little bit of both, but you got to win.
Yeah.
I mean, Philly, they don't care how you win; they just want to win.
Yeah.
You know, and the epitome of Philadelphia is Buddy Ryan.
Yeah.
That is Philadelphia.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna gut it out. You know, defense. You know, offense. You know, score some points, but we want turnovers. We want to punish people, and you know, we want to be blue collar football.
Yeah, no question. Well, Calvin, I always appreciate that you take the time to come on our show, and there's always
Always a pleasure.
interesting football and talking about obviously your role as associate athletic director. Good luck to volleyball tonight. It's going to be a big environment. And then, of course, tomorrow night, number 22, Ohio State comes calling. Tonight's match at 8 p.m. Big Ten Network as well, if you can't make it there. And then 7 o'clock tomorrow, Ohio State will be at Beeland Court for the Boilermakers match. And again, that's a team that the sky's the limit for.
Oh yeah, they have some young talent. Danielle Coutinho and Azaria Stahl. They're going to be phenomenal players for us. Coming forward for the next 3 years.
And Dave Shondell always makes it interesting. So that's one thing we'll always say. All right, we'll take a 2-minute break, bring Kyle and Brian back to finish up the show, talk a little bit about Purdue men's basketball and Media Day as well, and hit that in our final segment of Gold and Black Live.